Hey guys, how's it going? Thank you for joining me. My name's Karim and this is my very first tutorial. So very excited, and in today's video we're going to be talking about 3 different tips that you can use that will hopefully help you secure sponsorship for your short film. So a quick disclaimer before we get started. If you've came here for YouTube specific tips, unfortunately I can't help you. I'm not really a YouTuber. Let me just say that from the get-go. I'm actually far from it. I'm probably the opposite of what you would consider a YouTuber. I've only got like, I don't know, what, 10, 15 subscribers, and I think I'm related to most of them, so don't expect too much in that field. However, the tips that I'm sharing, they're all from my own experience. So this is not a manual that I found somewhere. This is basically after 2 to 6 years of doing kind of the same thing, sometimes changing my field, going from editing to camera work to full-on filmmaker back to editing. These are the tips that I've gained over the past couple of years, and I really do hope that they'll help benefit you. However, if you have some tips of your own you want to share, that's what the comment section's for. In addition to that, just let me apologise. I do look tired because I am very tired. I'm just trying to cram this video in somewhere. I don't have a lot of time. Lately I've been working on 2 different projects that are taking up around 16 hours a day, or 12 hours a day on average. Yesterday was a 16-hour day. So I'm very sorry if I look tired and my eyes look red. Don't worry, I'm not under drugs. Or am I? I don't know. No, I'm not under any drugs. Just wanted to apologise for what may come across as lack of enthusiasm, but I'm definitely passionate about sharing my tips with you. And in addition to that, if you ever want to ask me anything, my email is KarimDavisFilms@yahoo.com. Feel free to drop me a mail. Keep it short and simple so that I can get back to you as quick as possible, because I really, as I said, I'm under a lot of pressure lately time-wise. So I do apologise if I might take a little bit longer to get back to you, but I'll definitely try. So always feel free. I'm always here if you guys need me, and hopefully these tips will help you get some sponsorship or funding or whatever for your films, and hopefully you'll be able to make really cool projects that you can then share with me on the comment section. So one last thing before we get started, I just wanted to announce I finally have a Patreon account. I can't believe it. It's April 2018. I've finally done it. www.patreon.com/KarimDavisFilms if you want to check out which cool perks I have to offer. And in addition to that, PayPal is KarimDavisFilms@yahoo.com if anybody wants to leave a wee donation to help us make our stop motion movies and live action short films and live action features. So thank you very much for taking those 2 seconds to listen to me, and let's get right down to the very first tip. Okay, so the first step I want to talk about, or the first tip, is tip number 0. Not tip number 1, tip number 0. So I actually want to take a step back and discuss promotion and press kits with you. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, a press kit, is that not what I put together when my movie's finished or in production and present to the press to help promote my movie? Well, yes, but I would call that a production press kit or a post-production press kit. What I'm talking about is a pre-production press kit. It's a press kit that you put together and introduce, or use it to introduce to potential sponsors. Okay, so let me start off by saying that, in my own humble opinion, I don't believe there is such a thing as the perfect press kit structure. What I normally do is, when I create a press kit, I do so in accordance to the project that I want to begin working on and the sponsors that I'm going to send it to. So what I can do is, I can give you a list of the things that I most commonly add onto my press kit, and you can decide which of those you would like to use, which of them you would like to leave out, and then of course you can add your own ideas, and then what you do is you mix and match until you've tailor-made a press kit that you're confident in and that you think would be a great thing to send a potential sponsor. So for purpose of example, I'm going to use two different movies that I worked on. One is called P.O.V, Positively Outrageously Violent, and what that is a 15-minute comedy, horror, action, first-person view short film that I created in 2017, and it did quite well in the horror circuits and it got quite far in a couple of horror competitions. The other project is UNSOCIAL Media, which is a 5-minute drama. Now this movie hasn't actually been sent to that many competitions or festivals, but it did do quite well in regional TV. So there's two different examples there, and both examples have got some kind of sponsoring or funding that we didn't have to pay or give back. So those are the two examples I'm going to use. If you're actually interested in watching one of those movies, you just go onto my YouTube channel and you just go, I think, 3 or 4 or 5 videos back to get Positively Outrageously Violent. And on social media is actually, I believe, the last video that I'd done before this one. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the title, or in brackets, working title. Now this is very important. It's good to have a title, but sometimes you don't have a title. Like, for example, when I was working on social media, it had a working title. The working title was called Clickbait. But after the final cut, after I knew that this is what the movie looks like and that's the flow of the movie, I said to myself, clickbait just doesn't fit. For some reason it just didn't feel natural to me. So then I said, okay, I'm going to change the name over to UNSOCIAL Media. And when I was sending the pre-production press kits out, I put the working title Clickbait in brackets and it was kind of like a code name, and the sponsors knew it was a working title, so they weren't shocked when I changed it to UNSOCIAL Media. So you might want to add that little piece of information on. If you're working on a film called, let's say, The Yellow Seaman, and it's about a banana who's, I don't know, working at sea on a ship, or a porn star because it's called Yellow Seaman, I don't know. Anyway, let's say it's just a working title and you don't know yet which direction is it going to take, what flow or rhythm will the movie have, then just tell them it's called The Yellow Seaman for just now, and you might call it Captain Banana later on, but you're not quite sure, and just name it the working title or code name. And most sponsors don't really seem to have a problem with that. We normally change the name every time we finished a movie, and I've never heard a complaint from a sponsor about the name being changed. So the next thing you'll want to add on is a logline. Now a logline is basically one sentence that explains the premise of your movie. For on social media, we had a very simple logline, which was a young handsome man with a strong social media presence finds himself in an awkward situation when he is confronted by a real life problem. It was very simple and it was used by the TV stations, and we've also got it in the description box on our YouTube channel, or the YouTube link that it's currently viewable on. And we also gave it to the local press and they published it just the way we wrote it down. So for Positively Outrageously Violent, we used the logline: a sex-crazed escapee finds himself in the best situation he can possibly imagine as he becomes the world's last hope in the defense against hordes of the undead, sex-crazed humanoid horses, and crazy cannibal killer clowns. Or at least I think it was that, but you can actually read it if you click over to the P.O.V video, and you can see it in the description box. It is a mouthful, but it does basically explain what's going on. There's a crazy guy, he's escaped from prison, he's very horny, and he finds himself in the best situation he could ever possibly hope for as he fights off hordes of the undead. He's killing these crazy humanoid horses. People read that and they'll say, what's these humanoid horses? And then you've got the killer cannibal clowns, so you know it's a horror, but you know it's also supposed to be kind of funny. And he's the world's last hope, he's the world's last defense. So you get that all crammed into that one sentence. You'll have to go back and read it, because I didn't do any preparation for this video. Like I said, it's spontaneous, but no apologies. You just have to go back and read it. I'm very sorry. And I think it was something like that. And if you watch the whole movie and you go back to the actual logline and you read the logline again, you can decide for yourself if you agree that that logline explains exactly what that movie's supposed to be. And the same with UNSOCIAL media. Normally, 99% of people will agree that that is perfect for that. When you're writing your script and you're developing your story, you can normally come up with the logline at the very end, and it should normally be like no contest or no argument. It should be a straight to the point, quick summary, in one sentence, as clear as day logline. Now the next thing what you can add on is either a summary, which is normally about a page or 2 pages long, a treatment. On average, my treatments for features are around 5 pages. I have apparently very long treatments as opposed to some of my peers. And scripts, well, on average, 1 minute of action is around 1 page script. 1 page of script. So if you're writing a feature that's around 90 minutes, then you've probably got around 80 pages of script, or 80 to 100 pages of script. What I would suggest is don't send your sponsors your script for your short film. If your short film's 5 minutes long, for example, when we were making UNSOCIAL media, we had a 7-page script that ended up becoming a 5-minute movie. We didn't send it to our sponsors. We sent the logline and a quick summary, and they were happy with that. I would find it hard to part with my script. I don't know what you think, but it's just one of those things. You might end up sending your script out, it might get lost somewhere, get in the wrong hands, you never know. Now there are people out there that are probably saying, yeah, but you can secure your script online now, it's a lot easier. But I always say just avoid the hassle, do it the right way. Send the treatment, send the logline, send the summary, even send all 3. But I wouldn't send the script. Now if somebody's financing or wishes to fund my movie or wishes to invest in my movie, then it's different. But that's normally not a short film, that's normally a feature. So if we're talking about short films, then I think it's more than sufficient if you send out a summary that's around 1 to 2 pages long. And normally I leave the option at the bottom of my email or letter, head letter, which is of course another thing you'll want to add on, but I think that's the only thing I don't need to mention. You're writing a head letter to introduce yourself, and you're hoping that whoever you're writing to, the sponsor, can connect with the story at hand, and you're going to offer them this and that and that and so forth. But I mean, that kind of comes with the territory. Of course, you just don't send the press kit and don't say anything, because they'll be like, okay, what's all this and what do I do with this? So a letter where you explain, of course, is a head letter, which I would call it. But I normally offer to get back to the point, I normally offer the option of adding on the treatment later on if they find that interesting and they're still a little bit curious because they're not completely sure what this project's about or which road it's going down, or they have any extra questions. I always leave my contact information and the option for additional information on the project itself. So you'll always want to leave that open as an option. And I can go to the sponsors and show them the script, but I would rather be there with them and say, okay, this is the script. You want to read a couple of pages? Should I make a copy for you? Is it okay if we can sign a disclosure contract? But okay, that's going too down far the rabbit hole of features and whatnot. I think for a very basic 5-minute short film, it should be more than enough if you send the logline and a summary with the option of a treatment. And if I've got a 7-page script, I've probably got about a page treatment, a page and a half treatment, maybe half a page summary, full page summary, and just a small sentence for a logline. Another thing you'll want to add on is past work examples. Now, it doesn't even have to be related to the project you're going to work on now. For example, for Positively Outrageously Violent, we sent Killer Z Elite, which was a short horror trailer that we created. But we also sent them the Tekken Stop Motion Episode 1, which was a stop motion that is basically just a 3-minute martial arts mayhem short movie. And it's unrelated, or not necessarily directly related to Positively Outrageously Violent, but it was to show off our skill sets and show that we put in the work. That's what it all comes down to at the end of the day. For unsocial media, none of our past examples even came close to what it is we wanted to create with unsocial media. For unsocial media, we sent 2 social media adverts. One I did in a falconry? Is it called a falconry? Yeah, it's called a falconry. And the other one I did was a social media advert that I made for a martial arts studio. And we sent, I believe it was a 2-minute short film that was a positive lift me up short film called Smile that I'm sure you can find on our YouTube channel a couple of years back. So it doesn't have to be directly related to the project that you want to get out there. You just need to show the quality of your work. So of course you choose the best work and be honest with yourself. If it's a company that makes cars and you want to make a movie about a kidnapped granny and the John Wick type character who wants to get his granny back, then it might be a little bit boring if you're showing them an advert about socks you made 6 years ago when you've got a cool advert that you've put together that shows the capabilities of a sports drone or snowboarders, and it's been done in 4K and whatnot. Then of course you're better off sending that, even if it's not directly related. They'll want to see the quality of the work. They'll want to see what you've been up to lately. They'll also have questions about your work that you'll need to answer and you'll need to be able to back up. And you answer a lot of those questions by showing them what you can do. If I come to you and I ask you for money to work on a project, the first thing you'll say is, well, okay, maybe F off. But if you're considering investing money in one of my projects or funding me or sponsoring me, then you might have the question, are you even a filmmaker? What have you done? Show me your work. So then I'll show you whatever I think is really good and give you a little mix, you know, not just the one project, but a diverse choice of projects. You can do that by adding on 4 different links. music video, a short film, a wedding video perhaps, and just show them what work you've done. Because if you're looking for sponsorship to make short movies, then I'm assuming that you're not a millionaire and you're trying to get the dollars together to make this happen, to create a project that you're passionate about. And there's no shame in that. And even if you are a millionaire, I believe Spike Lee even started a Kickstarter campaign for one of his last movies, and in addition to that he was going to a lot of sponsors privately and asking them about product placement and whatnot, and how he could work around some of the financial troubles that come with making a movie. And he's a big time director. So basically, if you're in need of this sponsorship, or if you're in need of funding or whatever it is you need, then just go ahead and show a couple of examples of your work. The ones that were made with passion, of course, and you should make and attack every project with passion, and the ones that are the best looking, and show off your filmmaker skills so that they will get excited and say, well, okay, maybe I can't envision exactly how this movie will be, but I know he can envision, or she can envision it, or they can envision it. So I want a part of that cake, and I'm ready to put down the sugar for it. So another thing that you might want to add onto your press kit is a quick summary regarding your release strategy or your distribution strategy. Now, I'm planning on making another video in about 3 or 4 weeks' time, where I'll go into detail and I'll share with you around 3 or 4 tips, on how to get your short film out there, how to get it recognised, and maybe even earn a couple of quid off it. But if you're making a short film that might not earn any money, then a distribution strategy might not be something that you're looking at this moment in time, or maybe you haven't decided on it. But I would definitely add on a couple of sentences regarding your release strategy. So, an example, a couple of years back I made a movie called All In, and it was about how youngsters became addicted to online poker. When I was trying to get funding from the city, I told them that we're not going to make any money off this project, but what we could do is we could show it at the old folks home, at all the youth centrums, at local schools, and even some local sports clubs. And we can just show the movie in good faith that when the youngsters watch it, they'll think to themselves, oh my goodness, that is a good reason to stay away from online poker and not get addicted to betting. And they love that idea. So it wasn't a distribution strategy in relation to earning money off the movie or like giving them return on investment, but rather it was just a release strategy, a simple release strategy. Now, I'll get into this in another video, but there's normally a pyramid that you'll want to follow, an Illuminati style pyramid. At the very top, you have a theatre release. And at the very bottom, you'll have YouTube. And between it, you have around 8, 9, 10 steps. And that's something I'll get into another video, because I want to go through each step and talk and give you examples for each step. But normally at the very top of the pyramid, or the very top of the staircase, you'll want to release it in some kind of cinema. And what we did, we released All In a local theatre. And there was about 200 youths, all from the youth centrum. They came in, some social workers were there as well, sat down, watched the movie, and it was really good. Had a great night out. It was fun for them all. We took some photos, the press was there, and also they took some photos for their own like little magazine they bring out once a month. Like some youth centrums have it, or some schools and high schools have it as well. They have their own little wee magazine, and they took some photos for it, and also wrote down a little bit of information about the film and where you could get it from, where you could see it next, and so on and so forth. So some of the actors got to do wee interviews and all that, and it was really nice. So it might be something very simple, but it's worth sharing, because whoever's going to sponsor your project, they're going to want to know what's going to happen with this project. Are you just going to make a movie and then never show it to anybody? Because God knows there's a million movies out there that we've never seen. There's even movies in Hollywood that we've never seen. They can't get released due to distribution deals that went wrong. There's movies from the 80s. I believe there's a famous movie that's supposed to be a vampire movie, or it's infamous, and it was completed, 100% completed as far as the production went, but the post-production never got shifted into gear because of some rules and regulations and whatnot. And look at how many projects have been dropped in Hollywood. People don't believe me, but I counted 10 DC projects. If you're not familiar with DC, it's comic books. DC Comics and Marvel Comics, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, and all that kind of thing, all the superhero movies. And I've counted over 10 DC projects that have been dropped in the past 30 years. And people don't believe me. People say to me, no, it's DC and Paramount and Warner Brothers. They don't just drop things. Karim, come on, that doesn't happen. These guys are professional. But no, if you do your research, you'll find out that a lot of projects get dropped. So it's important for you to share with your sponsor what your plan is, because maybe they just assume that you just want to make it and that's it. And if you just want to make a movie for the sake of making it, then share that information with them as well. Because that's one thing we told the City Council when we got funding for All In. We said it's not the distribution so much, it's the journey that a lot of the local actors will take with us, as well as some of the youngsters who want to learn about film and movie making. That's what it's all about. That was what was in focus. And the release, that's just like the tip of the iceberg or the cherry on top. That's just part of the whole project. With UNSOCIAL media, from the very beginning we knew that we wanted to release it onto local television. They loved the idea. They said, how long is it going to be released? Or how long will it be running on TV? So we had to phone up the TV stations. It was 2 TV stations it was shown on. And they got back to us and they says, yeah, okay, it'll be running for 2 weeks. And the other TV station says about 9 days or 10 days. We'll be showing late night repeats and we'll be using it as a program filler. And when we got back to our sponsor, they said, yeah, okay, no problem. And they ended up sponsoring the movie. So the next thing that you could or could not add on to your press release, or your press kit, sorry, is maybe a bit controversial. But maybe it's a good idea, maybe not, it all depends. If you've got a company like, I don't know, let's say Mercedes, and they're on the fence and they don't know if they should help sponsor your project or not, imagine them reading that Reebok is one of your other sponsors. That might be a good thing, because they'll say, what, Reebok? Well, Reebok's got a good name and they'll definitely get a lot of press. We want on that. And they'll get free press. Or they might end up saying, what, Reebok? No, it's a big name like us and we don't want to go into their territory and whatnot. And they might end up saying no. So it's a controversial point, but sharing who else is involved in the project, not something I would normally do. What I would do, however, is inform your potential sponsors of artists who are in the local area who'll be joining in the project. If you've got a great graffiti artist who's well known in the area and one of his artworks are going to be shown in the movie, I would add that on. If you've got an actor who's made a name for himself and he's been on local television and even national TV a couple of times, if you can get your hands on him and he's agreed to join in the movie, why not pass that information on? They might like it. So it's a controversial point and you'll need to make that decision for yourself, most definitely. I don't see any reason why not to add on artist information, but other companies, it's just an idea that I've put out there. You'll need to make that decision. I wouldn't do it, but it's just an idea. So one thing you'll definitely want to add on is your business card. If you're sending a letter or a substantial amount of letters and you're not adding your business card on, then you're missing out. Adding your business card on, my business card for example, it has all my social media and it has my email address, and if the sponsor gets it in their hand, it kind of gives me the feeling that they're touching something that they can sink their teeth into, that they know is real. If you're sending emails to people, make sure you add on a digital business card. Now it doesn't have to be anything special, like mine says Karim Davis Filmmaker. Underneath it has my social media information and my email address. That's it. It's very basic, gets straight to the point, and I could make it more glitzy and glamoury, but I'd rather make my movies more glitzy and glamoury than spend hours and hours making a transparent card that sets on fire if it's put in cold water or anything like that. These things are all nice ideas and they're up to you how you want to make them. I've seen really nice cards. A girl made like a pink one with the moon at the back, and I've seen somebody make a transparent one, had his name on the front and the back, and I've seen all different kind of sigil type symbols. You can be as creative as you want to be with your filmmaking cards, and it's good to have one. It's always good to share with your press release your name or your company's name, because when people see it, it kind of leaves a mark in their brain. Oh, okay, well, cool, okay, so they're the guys that are doing it. And Lord knows when I see Paramount on the TV, that sends a subliminal message into my brain. Hollywood movie. Let's see, is it maybe an action movie? If I see Disney, I'll say, okay, that's relating somehow to a child movie, cartoon, fantasy. So, as far as perks go, we'll get into that in more detail in the rest of the video. But to keep it simple for just now, a perk is basically something you will give in return. But it's normally not money. If you give me $10 for my short film and I give you $20 back, that can be considered as a return on investment, but it's not necessarily a perk. A perk would be if you give me $10 and I give you a t-shirt with the name of the short film and a photo or a piece of artwork of the protagonist or antagonist on the t-shirt, then that would be considered maybe a cool perk. Another perk example would be you give me $50 and I will put you in the post credits as executive producer, and in addition to that, if you own a company, I would make a small advert or add your company name on to one of the promo pics, for example. As far as perks go, you can be ridiculously creative. There are no limitations. When contacting sponsors, you have the opportunity to tailor make a perk for the person you're contacting. So you can give them examples. You don't have to go into extreme detail. You can give them like 2 or 3 examples. But it would have to be things that the potential sponsor could really use. So if it's a company, a small company, or a medium-sized company, they can definitely do with the press. They can definitely do with getting their name out there. So in any which way that would help. But we'll get to that in the rest of the video, but any which way that can help, that's definitely a perk for them. Now, if you've got a Patreon account or you're crowdfunding a project, then it can be a little bit different. Then you can have all these perks that people can choose themselves. They'll read it online and say, okay, I'll have this perk and so on and so forth. And some people are willing to give you $1 or $2 just to help out to make a movie and have a little producer credit or a special thank you at the end of the credits. And that's enough for them. Some people find it really cool to say, oh look, I've helped out on that project. I personally helped out on a project around 3 years ago, I think it was. And it was a guy from the stop motion community. He was working on his dream project and he needed $400 to complete it. I only gave him like $4 or $5 and a little head letter, all the best for your project. He was so full of passion and he was raising the money. I think he was up to about $125 at that time. He missed his mark by $75, which was a shame. And I think he didn't finish the project. I hope at least that he tried, but I never heard back, and it's just one of those things. But the reason why I did it back then was just to support somebody from the local stop motion community, and you know, I was into that, I could relate to that, and I says, yeah, cool, I have no problem doing it. And you'd be surprised if you put the effort in and tailor make a perk for somebody, how much it could positively affect or increase your chances of getting a sponsorship or funding or support from them. Let's say you're going to a local bakery and you're asking them to support you with either $50 or $100. Then what you could tell them is, if you give us $50, we will give you a mention in the pre-credits and a mention in the post-credits, as well as a mention in the press release. Now, if they give you twice as much money as that, you can tell them, we'll even show your bakery in the film, and in addition to that, we'll have the first screening via Beamer or using a Beamer, and we'll project it onto the wall of your bakery, and we'll have the press sit in a summer evening enjoying your bread and your cheese or whatever, and we'll watch it on the wall of your bakery. So that's just an example. Now remember, I'm tired here, so I'm just pulling things out of the hat. I'll get into more detailed examples in the rest of this video, but that's basically what a perk is. You're saying to them, okay, you give me this and I'll give you this. If you give me $10 and I give you $20 back, that would be a return on investment. If you give me $10, I only give you $2 back. It's not technically a return on investment. I'm paying you back at least some of the money. But that is not a perk. Perks are normally nothing to do with money. Or at least 99% of the time, they have nothing to do with money. Somebody gives me $100 to make a movie, I give them a perk so that they know that they've been part of that movie, they feel that they've contributed, and they basically feel special, and that's what you want your sponsors to feel. You want them to have that feeling that, wow, we've contributed to something here, we've done something special. So we'll get more into perks in the rest of the video, but it's important you give a detailed account of the perks that you're offering and when you're offering them. Is it you're offering this when the sponsor gives you $50 or gives you the location for a day or 2 days, or gives you $100, $200, or they give you $10 worth of drinks or whatever it is? You want a detailed account. Always have a plan A and a plan B at least. So you say, okay, we're looking for at least 15, but if you give $75, we can offer this. And then anything in between, the sponsors themselves can ask you, okay, what would that buy us, or what would that get us? And that's what you want to add in your press kit. So let's say you're going to approach the local bathhouse or Chinese restaurant, Indian takeaway. You're approaching your local martial arts studio, your local ballet club, whatever, and you wish to ask them permission to shoot at their location, or you want to ask them for a bum, which is basically a bit of money, or you want to ask them to feed your actors on 2 separate shooting days, then what you can do in return is offer them a perk. And this perk is a very powerful perk. It's something I always offer sponsors, and it goes down very well. And it's a 30 to 60-second social media advert. Now, it's tailor-made for social media, so it can be used for Instagram, Facebook, their website, and so on and so forth, but you can also use it for local television. Now, here's an example. For unsocial media, we sent a press kit out to a pizzeria that is a vegetarian pizzeria that recently started selling vegan pizza. We asked them to support us, and we said in return, we will give them a 30 to 45-second social media advert. The advert itself is very basic. It's basically their main pizza maker or pizza baker, and he's basically making a pizza, and it's a vegan pizza. And at the end we say, yes, new vegan pizza, very delicious, come and get it now. And it shows you some slow motion clips of him making the pizza, some close-ups, and basically the idea is to whet the appetite. So once we've finished the advert, we showed it to the owner of the pizzeria, and he absolutely loved it. And what we got in return was €50, and that was €50 more than what we had before. In addition to that, we got free pizza. So I thought, okay, how can I up the ante here? We got free drinks because I said to the owner that we would add his logo, his contacts, and the pizzeria's telephone number into the actual movie. And he says, well, how are you going to do that? And I says, I'll think of something. And what we did was we used the pizza carton and did 2 close-ups, and the 2 close-ups appear in the movie. Now, they're not the most flattering close-ups, but they do play an initial part in the actual story. And he loved the idea how I was going to add the actual pizza cartons into the movie. So what he did was he offered us free drinks into the bargain, and he also had his pizza delivery guy drive us to 2 separate shoots, which was absolutely amazing. So it was a full package, and in addition to that, we had a special thank you in the press release, and also added his information, his company information, on at the very end of the video. So, or basically in the post-credits. Sorry, not the end of the actual movie, but in the post-credits. So he was very happy with the way we done it, and he had complete oversight from the beginning to the very end, and he was just basically very surprised of how well it all worked out, and we were also very surprised to get his support. So God bless him, he helped us out a lot. Big thank you to him, and also a big thank you to the pizza driver for bringing us from A to Z, and also the pizza baker for the delicious pizza. So a social media advert is definitely a good idea, I think, but it doesn't have to be your only idea or only bargaining chip. Another perk that I recently offered an actor was to make a showreel for him. Now, we're currently working on a live action adaptation, fan fiction adaptation of an anime called Ajin, Now if you don't know Agent, you can check it out on Netflix. It's really cool, really brutal, lots of action. And basically I wanted a particular actor, a specific person to join our cast. He would have normally charged around 250 euros or dollars. So what we did is we worked out a perk. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a 2-minute showreel for him. And with that showreel, he can apply for other jobs. And what we're going to do is we're going to take scenes from the Agent movie and we're going to combine them with other scenes that we're going to make exclusively for him. And the other actors that are on the project, they're going to help out. And they'll also be allowed to use the scenes if they need them for their own showreels. So he was absolutely, completely, 100% happy with that. He said he needed a new showreel and he asked if I could throw in a couple of headshots, and because I'm also a photographer, I said no problem whatsoever. So we agreed upon, I think it's 7 headshots or something, something like that, 7 headshots. And I says absolutely no problem. And I think he needed one other thing. I think it was a letter of recommendation that he wants at the very end. So you don't always have to say, okay, social media advert, that's the only thing I have to offer, and you're just approaching companies with it. You can also go an alternative route and you can make something that is tailor-made for somebody. What you could also do is, if you're taking somebody's camera, you need to take a lens of their camera for a week or 2. You could offer them free baby photos. Like if they've got a newborn child, you can say, look, I'm the superior photographer here. Let me take some beautiful photos of your beautiful little child as a thank you for you giving me your camera for 2 weeks. Another thing you can do is, if somebody's driving you about, which a friend of mine's done for location scouting for Agent, we were going back and forth and he was helping me out. He's making a lot of phone calls to help get this really cool location, and we kept driving there and back and meeting with the guys and whatnot. So what I did is I edited some raw footage. It's not a wedding video, it's kind of like an engagement party, or is something in his culture. I don't really understand it completely, I have to be honest, but it's like a coming together of the 2 families, if that makes any sense. So what I did was I used a song that his wife liked, and then I edited a clip for him, and he was over the moon with that, and he says thank you very much, that would have cost me loads and loads and loads, and he basically got it for free. Hiya. So there's Snuggles saying hi. So it's not only social media adverts you can offer. You're a filmmaker, so you can offer a lot of skill sets. Another thing you'll want to do that will benefit you is always ask for a letter of recommendation if you've created something for somebody. So for example, the pizzeria, they gave us a letter of recommendation and also the right to show the advert to potential clients. So if I'm contacted by a bar or a restaurant and they want to know if I've ever worked with food, I can say, yeah, I worked for Pizzeria so-and-so, here's the letter of recommendation and here's the advert. And in the letter of recommendation, it's always important that they have their stamp, address and telephone number, so that your potential clients can get in contact with them. And that way, you're generating more work for yourself, or at least the possibility of more work, and you're expanding your portfolio. Because don't forget, if you're making a social media advert for technically for free, it's a perk but it's technically for free, then what you're doing is you're giving yourself basically complete freedom to create a social media advert out of nothing, and giving yourself the opportunity to experiment, which is absolutely great. Just for that alone, it's a win-win situation. It's definitely, even if the advert itself is terrible, which can happen, you've still learned what not to do, and that learning experience can definitely be vital and crucial for an independent filmmaker. So the next thing you want to consider is offering free product placement. And what you'll want to do is make sure you come up with a good idea. So you don't just offer product placement. The company that you're contacting, you'll want to give them a couple of examples of how you would place their product in an effective and non-degrading manner in your short film. So let's say you've got a company that makes health drinks, sport drinks or whatever. Or let's say it's a company that is a clothes manufacturer. You've got a protagonist and an antagonist, and you want the antagonist to look sharp. So you go to the local clothes manufacturer or the local tailors and you tell them, look, make this suit, make it nice, sharp, and we'll actually show the suit in the movie, and we'll let everybody know that you were the guy who made it for them. So let's say the tailor's name is Antonio's, and let Antonio know that his outfit that he created, that piece of art that he made to make the antagonist look sharp and dangerous, that's going to be in a scene, and you're going to make the scene like in a shadow, and he walks out from the shadow, and it's going to be slow motion. There's going to be some gangster music. Maybe Antonio will love that. Maybe what else you could do is have two hitmen wearing the outfit, or have the police commissioner, the retired police commissioner, wearing a classy outfit at the end. And then he's sitting down, and maybe one of the gangsters say, oh, that's a nice outfit. Where'd you get it? Is that boss? He says, boss, give me a break. It's Antonio's from Corner Street 17. And then Antonio gets a free mention in the movie. So if it's done properly and it's organic enough, it can look very, very cool. With the sports drink, for example, or let's say it's an energy drink. What you could do is, if you're making a comedy, then you can say, okay, what we're going to have is a crazy advert running in the background of a weakling, like a really weak guy. He's not good with the ladies, he's inconfident, and he's just a nervous wreck, so kind of like me in real life, and he doesn't know where to go with his life. And then he drinks your sports drink or energy drink or whatever, and then after it he grows a mustache, and he's got a little fro going on, and he's looking good, and he's already got muscles, and we don't know where the muscles came from in the last 3 minutes. And then he starts fighting aliens, like randomly aliens are just attacking him, and then he teams up with Godzilla, and you know, they fist bump and they start punching the shit out of Donkey Kong and King Kong and whatnot. And as random as that may sound, if it's a comedy you're making, like a satire or just a random comedy, crazy ass mixture of jokes and whatnot, and you just want it to be fun, maybe they'll actually love that. If it's a fun kind of crazy, wacky company, maybe they'll get down with that and they'll say, hey, look, that sounds amazing. Do that little advert, and then also not only show that advert in your movie, but send us that as well. Because for them, that's killing two birds with one stone. So that's just giving you examples, and don't forget I haven't slept like in 2 days, so that's just giving examples. If I can come up with those examples, you can come up with something 1,000 times better. You definitely have the potential to do so. You just need to sit down and think, how could this fit in organically? Or even non-organically, this seems to work quite often. I'll give you an example. I was watching Transformers, I think it was, and I think, was Mark Wahlberg in Transformers? Yeah, and there's a scene where his car topples over, I believe, or his car bangs into another car, and the other car, I think, was transporting a beer or something like that, and the beer was called Pow Wow or something like that. And Mark Wahlberg gets out of the car and he says, are you kidding me? What's all this about? And he takes the beer, and then he opens up, and then he starts drinking it, and it flows all over his shirt. And then on to the next scene. And it was so obvious that it was embarrassing. But I'm sure the people that are going out to enjoy themselves on that weekend don't care. They're thinking, oh, that's cool, you know, I'm going to get that beer after this movie. And they don't care. It's just product placement. It just attacks that piece of your brain that says, okay, I'm doing that, and that's it. So even if it's something quite simple, like an energy drink, and the opening shot of a bar scene has a close-up of the energy drink, and then the camera pans onto the protagonist, fair enough. But be as creative as you possibly can with it. Don't just stop there. Don't just bring in Mark Wahlberg and have him drink the energy drink all over his, like he can't drink, and then go and fight giant robots. Be more creative than that. You know, have the guy kick a can maybe and hit the other guy on the head, and then he says, oh, you know, if it's a comedy, of course, two guys are fighting on the street, but they're both drunk, and then he says, oh, you know what, I'm going to kill you, and he kicks the can onto the other guy's eye, hits him in the eye or on the head, and then he's taken to hospital, and he wants to press charges. So what he's done is he's put the can in a bag, you know, those seal bags. He sealed it, and he says, this is evidence, and the police station's like, okay, you don't have to bring it in, you could have just told us that it's an energy drink from so-and-so. And that'll give it that organic touch if you can build it into the story. It's basically only limited to your creativity. And I'm probably just giving you a load of crap examples, but that's because I haven't slept. Examples that I can give you that make more sense is Positively Outrageously Violent has a scene where the protagonist fights against a sex-crazed humanoid horse. Now, the horse mask was actually given to us by an online horror shop for free. And we put the information of the company at the very end of the video. And in addition to that, when we submitted the actual finished film into a couple of horror film festivals, we also added the company's information in the press release. And we says, yeah, the masks that are used within the movie, they were given to us from this company and that company. And they absolutely loved the idea. It gave them a little bit of the script, you know, an insight to the script, a personal insight to the script before we even started production. And in addition to that, we did actually need the mask, so it was as organic as possible. In a stop motion movie that I made called Metal Gear Solid: Snake vs. Fox, a Japanese toy company sponsored the two toys that you see fighting each other in the movie. For them, it was a great way to show the toys' articulation and stability, and they also had access to the video and were allowed to share it on their website. So that is probably the most organic example that I could possibly give you of product placement. And the final example that I'm going to give you is on social media. Like I mentioned before, you actually see the pizzeria and the pizza cartons. And the pizza cartons have the information on, so if you were to pause it, you would see it. And at the end of the movie, of course, we have the information of the actual pizzeria, and we also mentioned them in the press release. But to have their actual pizza cartons in the movie was a really good move, because everybody who watched the movie on local TV, they automatically knew where it was from, they identified with it, and it was really cool. And when they went to the pizzeria, they said, hey, wait a minute, those pizza cartons, I saw them in a movie the other day, and they were laughing. It made for a great conversation piece between the workers and the customers. So basically, be as creative and as organic as you possibly can with product placement, and enjoy it. It's another little challenge. It'll challenge you as a filmmaker and as a writer, and just have fun with it. And always give at least maybe 2 ideas to the sponsors, and that way they can say, okay, this might shine a bad light on our product, but this might shine a good light, and they might even have some suggestions as to what they want changed. And if you can negotiate an organic procedure with them, then go for it and have fun with it. So tip number 3 is to inform your sponsors that you will include their company information in all local, regional, national, and even international press releases. Not only do you want to inform them that you'll do it, you'll definitely want to do it. And it's actually a very simple thing to do. If, let's say, BMW is sponsoring you or Tesla is sponsoring you, then let your local press know that. They might only end up mentioning it in one single sentence, or they might make a big article out of it, and your film might be pushed behind a little bit, and they'll put Tesla at the forefront and saying, Tesla helping out local community, blah, 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 so on, so on, so forth. But it's good press. It's good press for the both of you, because then your project is, for example, related to Tesla, and Tesla looks good. They've got a white light shining very bright on their company. Now here are a couple of other little things you can do that are also related to press releases. So if you're creating a short film and you've got a Facebook page that's dedicated to your short film, make sure to dedicate a post to your sponsors. If you've got Instagram, do the same thing. Dedicate one single post and say, thank you very much for so-and-so for sponsoring us. You guys make the best vegan burgers or the best electronic cars or whatever, horse masks, and we're very thankful. Guys, go and check these guys out. You won't be disappointed. Maybe you're planning on releasing around 5, 8, 10 on-set photos, sharing a couple of behind-the-scene photos with your patrons, and maybe with the press. Then why not add your sponsor's information into a couple of the photos? Maybe even take a on-the-set photo that is completely dedicated to your sponsor. So let's say your sponsor gives you a bag, a simple bag. They've sponsored you a very expensive bag or a very cool looking bag, and you can take an on-set photo of the bag and maybe the antagonist going like that in the background, and maybe like a little cool sentence like if the antagonist's name's Mr. Magic, Mr. Magic never goes anywhere without his dream bag from the makers of Dream Shoes. Something like that. I think you kind of get the drift. It's a really cool little thing to do, and most sponsors are happy. That's of course not going to be your major selling point, but it's definitely a cool thing that you can offer in addition to all the other things that you can offer them. Are you going to go to a film festival or a film convention? Then maybe you want to contact your sponsor and ask them to send you a couple of magazines or company brochures. And then what you can do is, when you're at your local film festival or national or international film festival, you can share the brochures with your peers, with actors, with company organisers, with business people, and you can say, oh, those were our sponsors, you should definitely check them out. Now you might think, okay, how can I fit this in? Is that not a little bit too unorganic? Is that a little bit too forced? Well, think about this. If the company that is sponsoring you is Black Magic, and they produce really cool cameras, then ask them to give you 3 or 4 annual magazines. They'll send them over to you, and then you go to a film festival and you go to the head of the jury and you say, here's a Black Magic magazine. Those guys are really cool, they sponsored us. That was very nice of them. You should check out, they have some great deals and great offers for other filmmakers. Maybe you can share the information on your website, or maybe there's something in there for you, for the company, for the festival organisers, that sounds or looks very attractive, and maybe you would want to even contact them yourselves and maybe ask them if they'd be interested in sponsoring your coming festivals. That's just an idea. Another thing you can do is, if it's a local theatre house, for example, you could ask them to give you a couple of brochures, and you can hand them out to other filmmakers and to actors and say, look, if you want to do a play, contact these guys. They're really cool, they have great prices. Let them know I sent you, you get a 10% discount or whatever. Now, this is one of the more final kind of step things that I would suggest. However, it does leave a good taste in your sponsor's mouth. And it will show the sponsor that even after the film is completed and it's doing its wee circuit, that you're putting in effort to make them stand out in a positive light. And that's always good for future projects, for future movies that might come down the line, or for future sponsor mentorship programs or whatever. So you'll want to promise 100% as far as the perks go. You want to say, okay, you're getting the best perks possible, and we're going to put 100% into the perks. But what you want to do is give them 110% back, because sooner or later you might have to recontact them. And even if you don't down the line get back in contact with them, trust me, filmmaking is kind of a who knows who industry, and it's filled with a lot of business people that might not know much about the technical aspect of filmmaking, or might not even have the know-how or the behind-the-scenes knowledge. They wouldn't even know how to start if they were behind the camera or trying to act in front of the camera, but they might just be filled with the same passion you are, and they might want to help support you. So it's good to keep contact and down the line introduce people so that they can get projects rolling, and it's just good to have a good vibe around you and have a good name, so that when anybody says, oh, do you know Karim Davis? Oh, that motherfucker's a cheater. No, you don't want that. You always want to do everything with as much integrity as possible, because you can lie maybe once, maybe twice, but it's a very small industry at the end of the day. You'll get caught out sooner or later. There's people that I've met in Eastern France that I later on met on Facebook 2 years later, that moved to Australia, and they live in the same area as somebody who moved to Australia from Spain, whose cousin I met in Ireland 2 years ago. So there's very tight connections. There's a very small world, you know. I'll give you another example. I met somebody on the bus in Hong Kong who used to party at a disco that I worked in Europe. And it was spontaneous. These things just happen. It's a very small world. So don't be lying, don't be cheating, don't slack off when you're offering perks. Put 110% in so that they will consider working with you again, and at the very least, pass on your name in good faith. And don't forget to inform your sponsor as early as possible that you're going to include their company information onto your press releases. That is something you don't want to leave at the very end and say, surprise! No, let them know from the very beginning. Look, we're going to make this movie, we'll inform the press that you're going to be our sponsor, and so on and so forth. I think that is something that doesn't have a negative side. Most companies want their name out there in the press. So if I haven't made that clear up to now, definitely inform the company. Always inform them first, because there might be that 1%, rule or that awkward situation, something awkward's happened and they're willing to sponsor you, but they don't want their name in the press. Things can happen. There is no golden rule that works 110% all the time. There's always an exception to the rule. And if this company is currently going through a phase that would lead them to be the exception to the rule, you want to respect that. So always inform the company that you want to add their information onto the press release. And I guarantee you though, 99% of the time they'll be very happy with that. Moving along to tip number 4. I know I was only going to offer 3 tips, but I thought, okay, this is a very important one because it's probably the most commonly used one. And it's offer your sponsor a mention in the post or pre-credits. Now, we touched on this earlier on when we were talking about perks, but the reason why I'm singling this out is because you can actually single it out. I'll give you an example. When I work on social projects, so like anything to do with an old folks home or youth centrum or animal kindness, anything related to that, then normally companies don't want to go full press crazy or anything like that. They want to stay as humble as possible, and they're usually very happy if you just give them a mention in the post or pre-credits. Now, adding the information in the post credits is something that I've been doing for almost a year or 2 years now. It's kind of the default option that I give potential sponsors or funders. I'll give you an example. I'm working on the Tekken stop motion episode 3, and the song we're going to use is a remix from E Honda's Street Fighter 2 stage. Now, if you don't know about Tekken or Street Fighter, it's basically computer games, and I'm doing the stop motion versions of them. The remix was created by a musician. I think the guy's over in America, and I asked him if I could use the remix that he made because he did it with electrical guitar and really heavy drums, and it sounds really cool. And I says, I would like to use that for my up and coming stop motion movie. Would you be so kind and give it to me? And then what I can do is I can add all your social media information onto the post credits. He agreed. Unfortunately, he's only got Facebook, I think. No, sorry, he's only got YouTube, but he was over the moon. He says, that's great if I can get a mention, bit of free press, not bad at all, and be connected with that project. And of course, any social media he eventually gets, like Twitter or anything, he's more than welcome to share the video and say, look, that's my song. I used a song already in the Tekken stop motion episode 2, where I asked a Spanish guitarist to give me a sample of a remake that he did, and then when he sent it to me, I added his social media information on in the post credits. So the post credits is actually something very powerful, very standard, and it can also stand alone. So don't forget to offer that, or at least make it your default offer. That should be the very least that you should be offering people. Not necessarily should be, but that's what I make as my default option. I say to somebody, okay, if you're helping out with the movie, of course I'm going to give you a mention in the post credits, because the movie wouldn't be able to be what it is without your help or without your contribution, whether it be your skill set, your time, your money, or the location that you provided for us. So the last tip I have for you today, we're on tip number 5 now, which is technically the second bonus tip and the 6th tip in total. The last tip I have for you is never forget to add your PayPal account information and your Patreon account information. Now, even if you've just opened these accounts up, add it to the post credits of your next project. Now you might be saying to yourself, okay, so if I'm adding this information onto my next project, how do these help fund my next project? Well, they don't. The funding starts after your project's went in circulation, after it's been at festivals, after people have seen it on TV, after it's been on YouTube for a while. And when people reach the post credits, they will see your Patreon and your PayPal account information, and then they'll say to themselves, oh, cool, there's an option to sponsor this guy. I can give $1 or $2 and they can use that to continue their creative ventures. Now you might say, okay, I'll need to put a lot of effort into Patreon. I'll need to put a lot of effort into creating my PayPal account. It may take a week or two and I really can't be bothered to do that. And so, you know what, I absolutely agree with you. If you're working on a project, that project should have priority. But I think in the long haul, if you're continuously adding PayPal account information and Patreon account information, what you're doing is you're becoming self-sufficient and self-sustainable. Now, you might argue and say, well, I'm relying on other people's donations. Yes, but you're the one who's promoting the option of giving you donations. If you don't put that information in there, then what's going to happen is they're going to watch the movie and they're going to think it's great, hopefully you've put in the effort and you've created an awesome movie, and they're going to watch it and they're going to say to themselves, wow, that was fun. And that'll be it. But if you've added that information on, there is that 1% chance that somebody somewhere might say, wow, that was fun. Oh, is that a Patreon account he's got? Oh, cool, let me check it out. They go onto their mobile and they see that you're constantly working, or you're doing something, or your next project's already up and running. And they'll say, you know what? I've been entertained. I enjoyed what I saw. This girl or this guy makes an awesome movie. They put the effort in, they put a lot of passion in. I want them to expand, grow, and become more adventurous and reach new heights. I'm giving them $1. And what that is they're not sponsoring your future projects per se. They're more or less giving you a tip for your last project that will help sponsor your future projects. So never forget to add that information on. If you have that information, it's a waste of time of not sharing it. We started out around 4 months ago creating a Patreon account and then a PayPal account, and I've only ever added the information on to one video, and that was the last video I think I did. Yeah, which was Getting Lost in Tokyo, which is basically a vlog that I've started, or a couple of episodes of where I travel around the world and I basically on purpose get lost in a country so that I can see sites that you might not see on your local travel guide. So at the end of the video, I just put Patreon up and PayPal. And then about a week later, I got my first dollar donation. And then after that, I got a Patreon, or a Patreon, jeez, I don't know how you call it, a patron. And since that $1, we've grown up to a total of $120 or 130, I think it was $32 or $123. I'm not completely sure. So I'd like to take this second to remind you to always put that information up there, and I also like to take another second just to say thank you to all the people that donated to us on Patreon and all the people that gave us little bungs and $1 here, $1 here on PayPal. It was really nice. We really are very thankful for your donations, and we're putting that money to good use because now we're working on Agin, and with that money we can basically help cover the costs for transport, for bus fare and for food. And that's with just, I think it was a total of $123 or $132, I'm not completely sure, and it's absolutely awesome. So Of course, I'm going to use this video to share with you my PayPal and Patreon information, but don't forget to share your PayPal and Patreon information in your own videos as well. So if you're making a short film, add that information not only onto the post credits, but also let the sponsors know that you have those accounts, because even if they don't sponsor you with a location or something, maybe they'll say to themselves, well, you know what, this is not a project we want to get involved in, but we'll donate $10, a one-time thing on PayPal. So that's, you already got $10. You might not have got the $120 or $150 you were hoping for, or the awesome location, or the Ferrari for one day to make an action scene, but you're getting something. Now that is more immediate. For the long run, getting that information out there, that will help gather interest. And then you never know, you might get somebody who says, you know what, I want to help support this person's career. She's very good, or they're very good, and let's just do it. In my case, they'll probably be saying, I don't like this guy. I'm not going to give him money for his Patreon account or PayPal account. I'm actually going to ask them to give me money back, because that's lost time that I've just invested watching this shitty video. Additional thing, you can always ask your sponsors to share your information on their website. So if you're a filmmaker or an actor or something like that, and they've got like a little news department or news section in their website, then it's awesome to say, oh, we did this short movie and we worked with so-and-so on this project that we sponsored, and we'd just like to congratulate them for completing it, or whatever, however they put their news section together. And if they can give you a little mention there, free press is always good press. Right, now time to wrap up. First of all, thank you very much for tuning in. This is my first tutorial. I'm very sorry that I never had the opportunity to do it under better circumstances. As I've already shared about 10 times in this video, I'm very tired and I'm looking forward to getting to my bed. But I'm also very happy that I was able to complete a tutorial that I think will help you out, or I hope at least I've given you a new angle on how to approach sponsors and what to do. And don't forget, there's 1,000 videos out there better than mine's. Go gather information and make sure you write down the notes of things that you really truly believe that can help you, and also try some things out that you normally wouldn't try. As long as you're doing and you're trying and you're failing and you're learning and you're succeeding, you're doing something, that's the most important thing. Go out there and get your movie done. And if you don't get sponsorship, you don't get funding, you don't get money, you don't get location, try it anyway. Because the higher the mountain you climb, the more satisfying it is when you get to the top. So always do what you love what you do, and love yourself in the process. That's it from me for now. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more stop motion animation, live action movies, if you want to see some more travel vlogs. If you want to see more tutorials, let me know. The other 2 tutorials that I've got planned that are coming out is how to distribute and garner interest for your short film. And the other one is 3 tips on how to help improve your stop motion video. Now, if you want to see more tutorials, do let me know in the comment section. But what I would love to see is if any of these tips have helped you create a short movie, or find funding or sponsorship for a short movie, then please share the link in the comment section so that others can watch it and be influenced and amazed and motivated by it. It's very important that we keep some good energy rolling here. So thank you very much for staying with me. Check out Patreon, www.patreon.com/KarimDavisFilms. And if you want to donate something to our PayPal account, it's KarimDavisFilms@yahoo.com. We'd be very thankful. It helps us out a lot. And you're always more than welcome to contact me on that same email address if you have any questions whatsoever. Better to write it in the comment section, because I usually get an alert for those, and I usually have more time because the comments are shorter, so I can maybe just answer back quickly, and then everybody will be able to see the answer and maybe even elaborate on it. So once again, thank you very much for joining in. I apologise for looking so tired, and I wish you a great day, and I hope, even if this is a year, 10 years from now, whenever you're watching this video, that you're living life with passion and you're enjoying your filmmaking. God bless.